It's Harmon Killebrew night. Harmon, as far as you know, are the only man in the Hall of Fame who never bunted in his career?
I wish you hadn't brought that up because I practiced every day, Dave.
You could have laid one down in a crucial situation.
I just wasn't called.
Never called upon to bunt. No. You're known as a very strong hitter, right?
Well, I had to be strong. I couldn't run very fast.
Yeah. Strength runs in your family?
That's what I've been told. That's the story.
Yeah, relatives who are quite strong?
In fact, they told me that my great-grandfather, Culver Killebrew, was one of the strongest men in the Union Army.
Is that right?
They said that he could stand flat-footed and jump over a standing horse. I don't know if that's true or not.
Just a standing jump right over a horse.
Jump over a horse.
Have you ever tried that?
No, I think I could make it to the...
I think that was considered for the Olympics back in the 50s, but they lost interest.
There are two kinds of people in this world. Those who love Old Bay and those who've never tried it. Because once you taste this Chesapeake Bay seasoning, you'll immediately be turned into a canvert. Old Bay goes great on seafood, chicken, corn on the cob, French fries, pretty much anything. Join the Legion of Canverts in America. Pick up a can today. And before you know it, this could be you. Old Bay, the can that connects us.
One game, right?
I remember Jim Lemon, who was a coach on our ball club, used to come in, and he played with us for a lot of years in the Griffith organization. He'd come into the clubhouse in Minnesota, and he'd say, "It's okay, guys. It's just flurries, no accumulation." And that's the way it was in Minnesota. We played in a lot of flurries and bad days when we shouldn't have played.
Did you ever get snowed out?
Yes, we did. In fact, the first game we played in Old Metropolitan Stadium, they had to shovel snow off the field to get the game in. But, we were snowed out quite a bit.
The next 2-2. Davis to left and will hit. Oh my! It's gone! Santa Maria!
From high atop the Robinson Gearing Studio Complex and straight out of God's country, Pawleys Island, South Carolina, the Let's Talk Baseball Podcast Network proudly presents Backwards K Pod. And now, here's the host of the show, Jake Robinson.
I never move in slow-mo. Welcome to my dojo. This other parts are so chill like bro, yo. Focus like a GoPro. Ripping up this promo. Check out the scoreboard. Freaked up the window. No, it's going. Yo, it's gone. Your heart just stopped. Cause Jake got strong and mighty. Undefeated, I mean it. Pull up the pot, scroll it down, then read it. Written, produced, directed, and mixed. Tongue on your lips and eyes and spit backflips. Big a tip, any tip, get onto it. I got ridiculous pods without pausing it. You sitting home crying like a girl while I spread the gospel around the world, yo. The plots are written behind tracks that mix it smooth with the groove to make ears wanna listen. Act a little good, and the rhythms back it up. Another show to my name, now once we stack them up. You think another way, grab back, but this ain't no abject. My hobby's to rhyme, some people try to be black, but that about time to come out, call the show. BKP, now let me turn it out, yo. Then take the state board of 71. Date you know what time it is, I'm packing them guns. Your experience, I've been a witness to glory, and that's why I collect ball players and their stories. You heard? So, once again, back is the incredible, the pod animal, Jake the Snake Robinson from the Let's Talk Baseball Podcast Network. I'm coming out of Pawleys Island, South Kakalaki, half man, half podcast machine, back in the Captain Kirk chair, shields down, photons up. Prepare to engage on this week's digital audio program that I call Backwards K-Pod, where we collect ball players and their stories. What's up, Seamheads? What's cracking? Welcome back to the dojo for chapter 191 in the historical, biographical, and anthological Accounting of the players, characters, moments, stadiums, managers, and all the pop culture references that have shaped our perspective and knowledge about this beautiful tapestry of life we call baseball. I'm Jake Robinson. I got your hookup. Holler if you hear me. I'm joined as usual in the studio today with my number one stunner, my compadre of chaos, my boy Charlie Guns, a.k.a. Gunner Robinson, chewing on them catnip gummies, posted up in our conductor's booth of our BKP time traveling diesel, awaiting orders to take us on the way to this week's baseball adventure. We got more ground to cover today than, I don't know, Keith Hernandez over first base, so without further ado, I'm ready to get after it. If I can get all of you stragglers hanging out on this Terrapin Station platform to kiss and hug your loved ones goodbye so we can get loaded up and begin my final prep for departure. As I stare out to the west of Terrapin, I have a magnificent view inside our immaculately manicured jewel box retro ballpark down that left field line that disappears at home plate as our hometown BKP9 have already ran out of the dugout and taken the field for tonight's contest. Our ace starting pitcher has completed his warm-up tosses, looks ready to go. Our catcher has gone down to second with an absolute seed on the bag. The infielder slinging that rock around the infield with a little snap and swagger. And the home plate umpire has cleaned up the dish and said those two magical words to kick off our summertime ritual birthright. Play ball. As the visiting team's leadoff stick saunters to home plate, that's my cue as usual to get this train down the tracks. I'm calling all aboard. As I will have Gunner set our time and destination this week for June 29th, 1936, Piatt, Idaho, as this week we're going to do a deep dig into the baseball path laid down by the iconic career of one of the most prolific and prodigious right-handed hit power bats of all time, the killer, Harmon Killebrew. So, hurry, step right up, get in where you've been in. You can post up and set up shop in our expansive lounges or retreat to a private boxcar for our trip back to Piatt, Idaho in the year of our Lord 1936. My boy Gunner is picking up the necessary quantum speeds needed to hit 6.0 gigahertz of RF on our spectrum analyzer, creating vast anomalous traversable wormholes, blurring the line of time and dimension, tilting the celestial scales in our favor, all in an effort to get us back to the genesis of this week's digital bio. And as I previously mentioned, this week we're going to put Harmon Killebrew under the microscope. Killer was one of, if not the most feared right-handed slugger of the 1960s in the American League. By the time he had hung up his spikes after the 1976 season, his 573 home runs were the most ever by a right-handed slugger in American League history. Still here, 50 years later in 2026, only Alex Rodriguez has dropped more bombs as a right-handed hitter in the American League. The milestone 500th home run, it didn't come easy. For Harmon, it may have seemed like an eternity. As in many cases, when a player is on the verge of breaking a record or achieving a magical milestone number, the waiting can be excruciatingly torturous. The spotlight, the nerves, the sweaty palms, gripping the bat, hoping that the next pitch will be the one to end it all. And such was the case for Harmon Killebrew, who had home run number 500 in his sights, but hitting said bomb was elusive, to put it mildly. Entering the 1971 season, Killebrew was sitting on 497 home runs. After a homerless April and May, Killer clobbered number 498 off of Oakland A's pitcher Darrell Patterson. And in anticipation of their hero reaching the upper echelon of legendary milestone numbers, the Minnesota Twins promotion department had a commemorative mug made and sold to celebrate the big home run that was sure to come. And the mugs were to be distributed at a game on July 6th, the logic being that surely he would hit the momentous blast by then. But unfortunately, Killebrew was still sitting on a home run number 498 as the promotion came and went. And Harmon suffered through a sprained right toe, which curtailed his at-bats and limited his power stroke. But in the 1971 All-Star Game, Killer becomes one of 6 future Hall of Famers to homer in the Midsummer Classic when he drops Dong on Virgil Jenkins' lips. Then on July 25th, he inches closer to the milestone when he smashes career number 499 against Louis Tiant in the Boston Red Sox. Finally, on August 10th, Harmon meets his date with destiny. In the first inning of a home game versus the Baltimore Orioles, he ambushes Orioles pitcher Mike Cuellar and crushes a hanging curveball into left field stands for the momentous home run. And the sparse crowd of 15,881 cheered their hero as Killer rounded the bases. And by the time his foot hit second base, Harmon can feel all the tension and anticipation leave his body as he becomes the 10th member of the Boston 500 Club. Afterwards, Harmon recalled how he didn't feel pressure to hit the benchmark home run until the club started handing out those commemorative mugs, saying it seemed like after those mugs were handed out, and that became the time when that was all that anyone was able to talk about, and I really started to press and try to hit it. The Twins would lose that day 4-3 in extra innings, and Killer, the team player he was, said it means less after losing the game. It's hard to be happy when you lose. Twins manager Bill Rigney recalled, Harmon really didn't say much in the dugout after rounding the bases, but you could see the relief all over his face. And I told him, don't let it be so long between 500 and 501, which Killebrew would take his skipper's advice to heart as he launched another Mike Cuellar curveball into left field stands in the 6th inning. It would take until August 10th to hit 3 home runs, but by the end of the campaign, Killebrew would smash 28 home runs and serve up 119 ribs, even though he was a killer in the batter's box with a bat in his hands. Harmon Killebrew was a gentle and quiet man on and off the field, a personality that belied the looming presence his larger-than-life shadow cast at the plate. He was once asked by a reporter what he liked to do off the field for fun. And the reporter had to lean in to hear Killer's whisper response when he sheepishly said, well, I like to wash dishes, I guess. And that was Harmon Killebrew. There wasn't a pretentious bone in Killebrew's body. It was never lost in him that the name across the front of the jersey was always more important than the name on the back. Former Twins public relations director Tom Mead once said of Killebrew, he is one of the finest individuals to ever play in the major leagues. To know Harmon Killebrew, the man, is to be a lifelong Killebrew fan. And here we are, nerds, as Gunnar has us ripping through that last traversable wormhole to end up here and buy it Idaho, June 29, 1936, where parents Harmon Sr. and Catherine Killebrew have welcomed their fifth and last child into the world, Harmon Clayton Killebrew. Catherine, the mom, was a homemaker, the glue that held the family together, and Harmon Sr., who preferred to be called Clay, had a big barrel-chested body type and was a fine athlete. He was a bruising fullback, smashing helmets with defensive linemen and linebackers of West Virginia's Wesleyan University under the tutelage of future Pro Football Hall of Fame coach Greasy Neal. Clay went on to play professional football for the Wheeling Steelers before he and Catherine moved to Portland, Oregon in search of better opportunity for their young and growing family unit. Eventually, the Killebrew clan would settle down in Payette, Idaho, where Clay becomes a town sheriff and eventually starts up a house painting business. And Harmon was blessed by his father's athletic DNA, and he had the same build as his father, and by the time he's a freshman at Payette High School, he is much bigger than his older brother Bob, who was a senior. He was a wreak standout for the high school football, baseball, basketball, track team, lettering in all four sports for 4 straight years. And his boyhood friend, Ron Manser, recalled how his friend Harmon was the only guy who ever graduated from Payette High with 4 letters and 4 different sports in all 4 years of his high school career. He was just a hard-working kid, and from the time I knew him as a little kid till the time he died, he never changed. He was the same exact person all of his life. When Harmon is 16, his father, Clay, tragically dies from a heart attack. The man who had molded Harmon and his brother Bob into these fine athletic specimens was now gone, and the death, it left a huge void in Harmon's life. With his number one fan gone from his side, Harmon turns the sadness and tragedy of the moment into a positive, and he devotes his full concentration into athletics. And by the time Killer is a senior at Payette High School, words of his athletic prowess and accomplishments are beginning to spread outside of Idaho. He's a star quarterback for the Payette Pirates, standing tall in the pocket, possessing a rifle arm with pinpoint accuracy. He has every intention of earning a full football scholarship to the University of Oregon while playing baseball there in the spring. But the wheels of history have other plans for Harmon Clayton Killebrew. Idaho Republican, a Senator Herman Welker, had seen the exploits of the young Harmon on the baseball sandlots of Idaho, and as a regular at Washington Senator home games, he put a bug in Senator owner's Clark Griffith's ear about the strapping young kid back in Idaho that he should check out. And whether it was to pacify the senator or if Griffith was buying what Welker was selling, the owner decides to dispatch his head scout, Ozzie Bluege, out to Payette and take a look. Bluege, who had been a fine third baseman for the Senators during the 1920s and 30s, arrived in the town and waited out a rainstorm to see Killebrew play. Eventually, the sun came out, and the 17-year-old Harmon didn't disappoint. He hits a 435-foot home run that lands in a beat field beyond the left center field grandstand. So, after picking his jaw up off the floor, Bluege draws up a contract and left it for Harmon to look at in hopes that he would be enticed by the deal. And in a real butterfly effect moment, Harmon was flattered by the Senators' offer, but the youngster actually had dreams of playing for the Boston Red Sox. And for a couple years, he had conversations with Earl Johnson, who was a former player for the Red Sox, but by then he was their scout in the Northwest region. And he always told me, if I ever get an offer from another team, that I should come and see if Boston would match it or beat the offer. However, when I got the offer from Washington, the Red Sox were unable to match it. And man, I really wish I could have signed with Boston at the time. I could really see myself hitting in Fenway Park for my career. And, you know, look, sidebar nerds, he ain't lying. He may have hit 600 home runs if he played his career in Fenway Park. And maybe he would have been the bat that the Red Sox needed to compete with Bob Gibson in the '68 World Series. But I digress. So, on June 19th, 1954, the 17-year-old Harmon Killebrew signed a major league contract with the Washington Senators, a 3-year deal at $6,000 a year, which is worth around $70,000 today, with a $4,000 signing bonus, which is worth around $48,000 in the 26 economy. And the size of the bonus qualified Killebrew as a bonus baby. And accordingly, he was to be placed on the Senators' major league roster for 2 years. And it was quite a whirlwind experience for the teenager from Payette, Idaho. And Killer recalls that he joined the club on the road for a game at Comiskey Park to face the Chicago White Sox, really not knowing what to expect. He had never even been inside a major league stadium in his life, and now he's playing with and against all the major leaguers that he had read about in his local newspaper, saying it was really strange and I was kind of in a daze all day. Well, Killebrew is listed on the roster as a third baseman, but he accepts that really he has no chance whatsoever to unseat team veteran Eddie Yost at the hot corner on Bucky Harris's team. So, he makes his major league debut 4 days after signing the Senators' contract as a pinch runner on June 23rd, 1954 at Comiskey Park. He played on only 9 games in the 1954 season, and at times he's seeing some PT at second base and a little bit of third. He started 17 games in 1955, but like so many bonus babies back in those days, he really could have benefited from some minor league seasoning here. After playing sparingly for 3 years with Washington, Killebrew makes his way through the Senators' farm system. He started with the Charlotte of the Class A Sally League and worked his way up to the AAA Indianapolis team of the American Association. And each year, he would get a call up to the show in Washington and receive varying amounts of playing time with the Senators. In 1956, Harmon marries the former Elaine Rogers, his high school sweetheart, and like his parents, they have 5 children, 3 boys, Kenneth, Sean, and Cameron, and 2 daughters, Kathy and Aaron. After the 1958 season, Yost is traded to the Tigers, and new Senators manager Cookie Lavaghetto gave Killer the opportunity to earn his way into the starting lineup out of spring training. And although Killebrew had shown shades of his power potential in the farm system, smashing 29 home runs at AA Chattanooga in 1957, no one could have predicted the breakout year he would have had on the major league level, tying Cleveland slugger slugger Rocky Colavito for the league lead with 42 dingers and finishing third in the junior circuit with 105 RBIs. His defense, however, was a work in progress. The young Killebrew had the tendency to throw a baseball with a stiff wrist like a quarterback slinging the pigskin, which really, that doesn't do anything but limit your arm strength. And manager Lavaghetto, who had been a second baseman and third baseman for the Pittsburgh Pirates and Brooklyn Dodgers, he put in the work with his young Padawan, working on his footwork and refining his throwing mechanics. But despite his defensive flaws, there was no denying his prodigious bat as he comes out of the gates white hot, hitting 15 home runs, driving in 28 runs during the month of May. He was selected to play in his first of 11 All-Star games. But, the scouting report, it has a way of making its way around the American League, and opposing managers would often call for bunts down the third base line to test the young prospect. In many ways, it led to a frustrating 1960 season. Hampered by leg injuries, Lavaghetto pencils the young Killebrew to split time between third base and first. When I played third, left-handed hitters Julio Becker and rookie Don Mitchell played first, and when I played first, Rene Bartois played third. Shifting back and forth was hard, mostly because, it was hard to use different gloves. But manager Lavaghetto, he knows where his bread is buttered, defending his player by saying, Killer pays his way with his bat. And like many power hitters, Killebrew had his share of holes in his swing. Early in his career, he struck out way more than he walked, but he worked hard to reverse that trend as his game matured, and you can look up his numbers. He would lead the American League in 4 times in his career in walks, and he really becomes more disciplined at the dish through seasoning and experience. Also, opposing teams began to employ this shift against him defensively. And Harmon remembers how Kansas City A's manager Lou Boudreau was the first to use these tactics in the mid-1950s before other teams had jumped on the bandwagon. I think I could have shortened my swing and become a 300 hitter, but I decided early on I was helping the club more by hitting home runs and driving in runs than hitting 300, Killebrew remembered. While Killebrew's star is on the rise, his ascension coincided with the development of Bobby Allison, Earl Battery, pitcher Jim Lemon, but for the most part, the Senators were often the proverbial cellar dwellers of the American League. As a result, attendance was undergoing a precipitous decline at Griffith Stadium. This and the competition for fans with the Baltimore Orioles, as well as the changing racial demographics of Washington, D.C., it caused Senators owner Calvin Griffith to look at relocation as a viable option for the ball club. And many cities were vying for an expansion or relocated franchise. You had Dallas, Houston, Seattle, Louisville positioning themselves for their own organization, and the league was also exploring the possibility of putting a second team in LA and New York. Recent moves by the Dodgers, Giants, Athletics, Braves, and the Browns, it seemed to make relocation an alternative solution for owners frustrated with their current situation. In the end, Griffith chose Minneapolis as his club's new home, and Minneapolis was a growing market. The Twin Cities were granted the NFL Vikings in 1960, playing the first season in 1961. And geographically, Griffith is banking on the potential for the ball club to draw fans from the Dakotas and Iowa as a secondary fan base outside of the state of Minnesota and, the Twin Cities in particular. It was a bittersweet moment for Killebrew personally. He had grown to love playing baseball in the district and the cozy confines of Griffith Stadium, where the fans were so close to the field that Killebrew could reach from his third base position and steal a handful of popcorn from a loyal Senators fan enjoying the game from the box seats. As the team makes its move to the Midwest, Washington and Los Angeles were granted American League expansion franchises, with the Mets and Astros being added to the National League expansion franchises in 1962. Despite feeling for the fans in Washington, Killer gets real comfortable with his new crib Metropolitan Stadium, which was a hitter-friendly park to right-hand power. In the Twins' first season, 1961, he batted a career-high .283, smacked 46 home runs, and drove in 122 with a .606 slug. Killebrew began working at WTCN-TV during the 1961 season, hosting a pregame show when the Twins were playing home games. He would also do these interviews with Twins and opposing players, and the show was wildly successful with a good 12-year run. He hosted a radio show during the off season, and the gigs, they kind of reshaped him from this shy, introverted person to having a more outgoing type of style. The transformation of the franchise, the shedding of the many years of a losing culture begins in 1962. Sam Melee had replaced Lavaghetto as the team's skipper, and the Twins went 70-9. Went from a 70-90 record in 1961 to 91-71 in 1962. The team would come in second place, 5 games behind the New York Yankees. And the 21-game sweep was nothing short of amazing. They had Camilo Pascual and Jim Cott leading the way to the bump with 20 and 18 wins respectively. The silky smooth glove of Vic Powers had taken ownership of the first base position, and Richie Rollins was the new third baseman. Killebrew transitioned to playing left field and leads the American League with 48 home runs and 126 RBI. And right fielder Bobby Allison, he also has a breakout year, smashing 29 dingers with 102 RBI. On July 18th, in a game versus the Cleveland Indians, Killer and Bob Allison each dropped grand slam home runs in the first inning en route to a 14-3 thumping of the Tribe. In 1963, Killebrew again led the American League in home runs with 45, and again in 1964 with 49 big flies. And for the most part, Killebrew, he doesn't drop these cheapies. For the most part, his dingers were straight bombs. He hit a home run off of Jim Bunning that soars over the double-decked outfield grandstand, clearing the left field roof at Tiger Stadium. And Orioles manager, the tall Texan Paul Richardson, after witnessing the power of the behemoth Killebrew firsthand, quipped to the baseball writers that Killebrew kid is something else. The home runs he hit against us would be homers in any park, and that includes Yellowstone Park. By now, Killebrew has established himself as the premier right-handed power bat in the American leagues, and the young and developing talent of the Twins continues to progress. And I think this is the point where I draw the curtain of the first act of the Harmon Killebrew bio, I'm gonna pull my candy apple red Ferrari into the paddock, change out these medium compound Pirelli tires for a batch of soft compounds before heading back onto the grid to fight for podium finish with the sweets topic. When I return, I'll give you a quick rehash about what we discussed thus far before picking up where I left off going into the 1965 season. Let me step out, pay some bills, hydrate, rip a tube or two, hook my boy Gunner up with treats for a great first segment. Oh, BRB, you freaks. Meet me on the dark side of the moon.
Bang, bang, that awful sound. Bang, bang, my baby shut me down.
Harmon, this should be an exciting year in the American League. How do you see it?
Well, that's right, Keith. It should be an exciting year in '68 in the American League. And, of course, we had a great season last year. 4 clubs fighting for the pennant. I think if it's at all possible, it could possibly be an even tougher year than it was last year for the contending ball clubs, and possibly 6 or 7 clubs could be in contention. So I don't see how, but it might be a more exciting season than last year.
Harmon, if you had to pick one club other than yourself, who do you think it would be?
Well, I can't pick one club because I think there's several clubs that are going to be stronger. I think the White Sox are going to be a real tough ball club. I think Detroit looks good. Boston, you've got to consider them as the pennant winner last year. They should be a tough ball club, too. And you have to think that Baltimore and New York will be better than they were last year.
May I insert right here, as you're talking, has there been any major trades that you think have helped the club?
Well, I think the trade that we made with the Dodgers helped our ball club. We've got a fine catcher in John Roseville. We had to give up a couple of fine ball players and Versalles and Grant. We got Ron Karanowski and Bob Miller should help our bullpen. So I'd have to say there's a trade that helped our club.
Well, Harmon Killebrew, I want to thank you very much for talking to us, and the best of luck to you during the season.
Thank you, Keith.
Howdy, y'all. This is Big Tex Gage Dean, the executive producer of Backwards K-Pod. In Texas, we do everything big. After football and golf, there's probably nothing I love more than going fishing and enjoying a good crawfish boil. The only thing I dislike about going fishing is the lingering odor it can leave on your hands afterwards. Well, the Fish and Hand Cleaner is an all-natural liquid soap perfect for overpowering fish and bait odors from your hands. I can't tell you how many times I've eaten steamed crabs, lobster, shrimp, crawfish, and then washed my hands with regular soap, only to touch my eyes half hour later, and my face begins to melt off due to the damn Cajun Old Bay spices. Well, we also have a hand cleaner specifically formulated to use after eating shellfish and other seafoods. Perfect for cleaning spicy, smelly hands after a Texas-sized seafood feast. In these cases, don't settle for anything less than our crawfish hand cleaner, our crab hand cleaner, or the fish and hand cleaner. An ingenious trifecta of natural hand soaps developed and owned by a disabled Navy veteran. He and Jake have a true connection, as they were boot camp shipmates all the way back in 1989. So he is family, folks, and one thing we do here at the Let's Talk Baseball Podcast Network is look out for family. So you can support 2 grassroots companies by 2 former shipmate Navy vets. Crushing big bowls of shellfish or fishing on the banks of your favorite river while you listen to BKP. Sounds like a great day. You know, in fact, hey Ma, where are my poles? I'm gone fishing. There's also a buffalo wing hand cleaner in development as we speak. To check all of the incredible products of this great company, you can go to www.crawfishhandcleaner.com or call the home offices at 713-588-0290. That's 713-588-0290 to support the grassroots company that supports your grassroots podcast show. That's crawfishhandcleaner.com or 713-588-0290. to prepare for your summertime shellfish feast or that fishing trip you're planning. CrawfishHandCleaner.com.
Going through the Harmon Killebrew, 1 out in the 4th inning, bases empty. Dodgers 2, Twins nothing. A mile drive in the left field. Johnson's go back. Way back. Goodbye. The Harmon Killebrew drives one deep into the left field seat. It went out beyond the 380 marker. And for Drysdale, he could eat his glove for only one reason. Every member of the pitching fraternity hates to give up a hit, particularly a home run, when the count was 0-2.
Welcome back, Seaheads, to the Let's Talk Baseball Podcast Network. And this is Backwards K-Pod, where we collect ball players and their stories. This week, we've been doing a deep archaeological dig into the baseball life and career of the incomparable Harmon Killebrew, who covered his youth growing up in Idaho, where he becomes a 4-sport star at Payette High School as a teenager. And after his father's tragic death, he uses the grief and sadness to outwork everyone around him in his quest to become the professional athlete. He had aspirations for playing quarterback for the Oregon Ducks college football team while playing baseball in the Springfield school, but behind the scenes, Idaho Senator Herman Welker had seen the young talent on the Idaho sandlots, and he tells Washington Senators owner Clark Griffin, "You gotta see this kid." And after one game, Senators head scout Ozzie Bluege is sold on the kid's talent, and he writes up a contract for a 3-year, $18,000 contract with a $4,000 signing bonus attached. Now, according to the rules of the reserve clause of the day, the $4,000 signing bonus given to Killer designated him as a bonus baby, and according to the rules, he had to stay on the Major League roster as a 17-year-old kid for 2 years. And, you know, like most bonus babies of the day, Killebrew enjoyed the big league experience of traveling around the country and playing before thousands of fans, but without the minor league seasoning, he's just a boy overmatched by Major League pitching. After 3 years of sporadic playing time, the Senators send the young prospect to the farm, where slowly but surely he begins to find his lumber and place on the prospect to watch list. After the 1958 season, the Senators deal veteran third baseman Eddie Yost to the Tigers, opening the door for Killebrew to earn the hot corner position. Killebrew, with a newfound confidence in his game, rewards his new manager, Cookie Lamaghetto, challenged by breaking out with the season. That season lead the American League for 42 home runs in 153 games. And there were always hints of power in Killer's stick, going back to high school and extended AAA that saw him hit 29 home runs. But on the Major League level, from 1954 to 1958, Harmon not only hit 11 home runs in 103 games. Due to the declining attendance, racial demographics, and territorial competition with the Baltimore Orioles, the first iteration of the Washington Senators moved to the Twin Cities of Minneapolis-St. Paul and rebrands themselves as the Twins in 1961. And I did a deep dive into the whole sordid affair in the BKP presentation of the history of baseball in Washington, D.C., and by all means, if you haven't heard that show, check it out. You can find that on whatever platform you're using now to listen to me, or you can go to diamondstakejake.podbean.com to hear about the history of baseball in the district, or any of the other 200 shows I have in my vault of archive catalogs. Before the Senators' relocation, they were mired in a culture of losing. Ever since the World Championship win over the New York Giants, they had grown accustomed to living in the cellar of the American League standings. That was in 1924. But the change of scenery to the American Midwest was like medicine to the soul of the team. They had bright young prospects climb the ladder of their minor league farm system, and the play on the field was getting better and slowly earning a measure of respectability. As for Killer, he moved himself in right at home in his new Metropolitan Stadium digs, leading the American League in home runs 3 straight years from 1962 to 1964. By 1965, the Twins are rabid dogs on the hunt, winning the American League pennant by 7 games over the White Sox. On the bump, Mudcat Jim Grant led the way with 21 wins, with Kid Cat Jim Cott chipping in 18 wins. The team had a dope, well-rounded lineup with leadoff stick Tony Oliva winning the battle title with 321 BA, and Zoilo Versales pacing the league with 42 doubles and 12 triples. And Killer was headed towards another fantastic year until misfortune came in his way. In the 6th inning of a game against the Orioles on August 2nd, Russ Snyder for the Birds lays down a bunt down the third base line. Richie Rollins pounces on the bunt, but fires an erratic throw across the diamond first base for the waiting Killebrew. Killebrew reached back, grabs the throw, and attempted to tag the hustling Snyder all in one motion, causing his arm to awkwardly collide with Snyder's body, and there was so much impact between arm and body that Twins players said they could hear the arm snap from the dugout. And Mudcat Grant remembers how everyone's heartbeat was audible in the dugout as medical personnel ran out onto the field to examine the arm that was swelling by the second. The injury will put Harmon on the shelf for 7 weeks before returning to the team in late September. After securing the league pennant, the Twins moved on to face the Los Angeles Dodgers in the 1965 Fall Classic. The first 6 games saw the two teams pretty evenly matched, deadlocked at 3 games apiece, with each team winning all 3 of their games in their home stadium. Now, Game 7 was played at the Met, but Dodgers southpaw ace Sandy Koufax was locked in and shut out the Twins 2-0 in the deciding Game 7. Despite the powerful arms of Dodgers pitchers Sandy Koufax, Don Drysdale, and Claude Osteen, Killer batted .286 in the series with 1 home run and 2 RBI. In the next 2 seasons, Killebrew kept his home run pace that he had established before he broke in the arm. In 1966, he clobbered 39 dogs, and in 1967, his 44 big flies tied him with Red Sox left fielder Carl Yastrzemski for the league title. But there was another aspect of his game besides the raw power that came into the forefront And that was his ability to draw walks. From 1966 to 1971, Killebrew led the league in walks 4 times and intentional passes 3 times. He was ostensibly the Barry Bonds of his day. They're shifting against him. They're intentionally walking him. Opposing pitchers and managers respected his raw power and his ability to wreak havoc. So, pitching around the slugger, either intentionally or unintentionally, became a sound tactical measure to employ against his heavy lumber. In 1967, manager Sam Melee is given the pink slip after this team stumbles out to a 25-25 record. He was replaced by Cal Irmer, who galvanized the team into going 66-46 the rest of the way. On September 26th, the Twins hold a 1-game lead over the Boston Red Sox with 3 games left on the schedule. Unfortunately, they would drop those final 3 games, including 2 to the Red Sox at Fenway Park, allowing Boston to squeak by and steal the American League pennant. And this would ostensibly be proven to be the last pennant race in Major League history. In 1968, the Tigers would breeze through the American League, and in 1969, both leagues expanded by 2 divisions. They expanded by 2 more teams, went to a 2-division format in both the American League and National League. And this created a round of playoff games before the World Series. No longer was the team with the best record guaranteed a spot in the Fall Classic. Killer suffers a brutal hamstring injury in the 3rd inning of the 1968 All-Star Game. It was his 10th All-Star appearance, and he was the first player to be voted by the fans to play the game at 3 different positions: left field, third base, and first base. The injury occurred as he stretched to catch a throw from shortstop Jim Fregosi as the soil in the artificial turf surface of the Astrodome had no give. His lead foot gave away, and he fell to the field in a crumbled mess under the strain of his left leg. The injury was so severe that he absolutely shredded the hammy and tore some bone away from his pelvis. He would return to the Twins lineup in September, but he was of little value, ending the year with a .257 average, 17 home runs, 40 RBIs. All that off-season, Killer spent the winter brooding over his calamitous 1968 season and with a determined focus to let these American League pitchers know who's the big dog in the yard. He responds with his best season yet in 1969. He led the league in games played with 162, 49 home runs, 140 walks, 145 walks. 20 of those were intentional, and a preposterous 427 OBP, winning the most valuable player from the Baseball Writers of America and the Sporting News magazine publication. He also surprised some people with his glove work out there that year. New Twins manager Billy Martin took a gamble and moved Killebrew back to third base. And Billy remembered how everyone had told him not to move Killebrew back to the hot corner, but he countered that Killer did a hell of a job at third base, adding that, admittedly, there's only one Brooks Robinson over there, and Harmon ain't no Brooks Robinson. But shit, who is? Harmon, for his part, never wanted to draw attention to his accomplishments, accepted the MVP award with his usual aplomb, saying, "What I'm really happy about is playing all 162 games. That meant I was healthy. I had no prolonged slumps, but I also feel like I could have done more. In this business, you never want to be satisfied with where you're at. You should always want more." The big man carried his Twins ball club to the first ALDS, winning the West that year. They had Rodney Klein Carew, who won his first of 7 batting titles with 332 BA. Teammate Tony Oliva led the league with 197 hits and 39 doubles. Pitchers Jim Perry and Dick Boswell anchored the staff with 21 apiece, and Ron Peronowski led the league with 31 saves. But the Twins were choked out by the Orioles in a 3-game sweep in the first ever ALCS. Killebrew again captured the Sporting News MVP in 1970, hitting 41 home runs, driving in 113 runs. He was named as the starting third baseman on the AL All-Star team for the second consecutive year. Bill Rigney replaced Billy Martin. The team won the AL West once again, despite missing Carew to a knee injury for a good chunk of the year. But their fate mirrored the year before, as once again they fall to the Orioles in the ALCS in a 3-game sweep. The 1970 season was the 8th and final season in his illustrious career that he would set off at least 40 bombs. Throughout his career, there were always comparisons to Babe Ruth, and people wondered if Killer could possibly challenge the bar of home runs that Babe set in 714. Harmon would dismiss the questions as nonsense, saying, "I'm just taking this one season at a time. I'm not thinking about records. I just want to stay healthy and continue to produce." On August 10th, 1971, Killebrew crosses home run number 500 off of Orioles southpaw pitcher Mike Cuellar. But as he's reaching his age 35 year, his production begins to wane. He hits 26 home runs, led the league with 119 RBI that season. But 1972, he hit 26 home runs, and his RBI production dropped to 74. Sidelined by knee injuries for almost 3 months, in 1973, he only suits up for 35 games and hits 5 home runs. He comes back healthy in 1974, but he manages to hit only 13 home runs and drive in 54 RBI. For the 1975 season, the Twins offered Killebrew a contract to be a player coach for their minor league Tacoma affiliate, the Twins AAA team. But Killebrew still has the hunger to play and contribute, and he rejects the offer made by the Twins, to which Calvin Griffith replied, "Well, that's fine. If that's how you feel, you're free to call any club that you would like to play for." Elaine Killebrew, Harmon's first wife, said that Harmon always strived to please everyone, and he never wanted to let anyone down. By all accounts, he was a wonderful person, but at times his good-natured behavior could be taken for granted, and he was susceptible to being used by people. When contract discussions came up, Killebrew preferred not to quibble too much in negotiations. The way he figured that he was paid well, but not overpaid by any stretch of the imagination. Teammate Jim Cott once told the Slugger that the minute you stop hitting balls over this fence, this front office will forget how to spell your name, buddy. With the minor league offer, Killebrew realizes that his old friend was spot on in his assessment. Cott went on to say, "God damn it, Killer, Stan Musial retires, and the Cardinals make him the vice president of baseball operation. Griffith wants to send your ass to Tacoma." You getting the picture here, Harmon? Killebrew finally smelled what Key Cat was stepping in, and he signs a 1-year contract to be the Kansas City Royals' designated hitter in 1975. Even without Killebrew on the Minnesota roster, the Twins looked to squeeze everything they could out of the Killebrew brand, and they announced a Harmon Killebrew Day and his return back to the Met on May 4th, 1975. With only 14,085 fans in attendance, Killer crosses a home run in the first inning as a swan song to the Twins' fable. At the end of the year, Killebrew retires, and when he does retire, his 573 home runs are the 5th most in baseball history and the most ever hit by a right-handed hitter in the American League. In retirement, Killebrew took to broadcasting, working for the Twins, A's, and the California Angels, but outside of baseball, his life was unfortunately in a downward spiral. He and Elaine divorced after 30 years of marriage. His car dealership in Ontario, Oregon, and his car leasing company in Bloomington, Minnesota went belly up, pushing him to claim bankruptcy. And he owed money to everyone under the sun, from the banks to the Griffiths to the Yankee superstar Reggie Jackson. He would appear at these sports memorabilia shows, sometimes collecting as much as $5,000 per appearance, but he could never make enough money to dig out of his financial hole, and eventually he filed for bankruptcy in 1993. Meanwhile, in 1984, Cooperstown came a-calling, enshrining the slugger in the House of Immortals. He was the first Twins player to be so honored. In 2000, he was elected to the Minnesota Twins Hall of Fame, and the club retired his iconic number 3 for posterity. Harmon Killebrew died of esophageal cancer on May 17, 2011, at his home in Scottsdale, Arizona, surrounded by the love of his family, including his second wife, Nita. And if ever a nickname was a total aberration to one's character, it would be Killer. Killebrew influenced young players, passing on his knowledge of the game. The saying he would do anything for you was not just idle chatter when describing Killebrew. He lived his life for everyone. In 1964, an 8-year-old boy, Johnny Guinea, or Guinea, I don't know how that's pronounced, Guiney, Guinea. Johnny Guinea was hospitalized in New York with burns over 50% of his body after his robes went up in flame as he lit candles at his parish church. Johnny's favorite baseball player at the time was Harmon Killebrew. When Harmon heard about the horrific incident, he decided to visit the young boy during a road trip into New York City. He signed a photo for the kid, gave him a brand new baseball glove, and before he left the hospital, the kind-hearted man looked at the boy with his piercing blue eyes and said, "Hey, Johnny, maybe I'll hit you a couple home runs today." And of course, Harmon kept his word, homering in the first and 8th inning of the contest at Yankee Stadium. And that was Harmon Killebrew for you. That man would do anything for you. And with that, I'm ready to call a wrap. Ding ding on this week's presentation. Another backwards K scribbled into the scorebook next to the Harmon Killebrew name, while Gunnar makes his way back up the trash, desperately trying to get all of you nerds back to your loved ones, patiently waiting for your return back to Terrapin Station. Before I pipe these mics down for our next presentation, let's take one last look at those so incredible stats and accolades the great Harmon Killebrew left behind on his Hall of Fame worthy resume. Harmon Clayton Killebrew, a.k.a. Killer, born June 29, 1938 in Payette, Idaho, died May 17, 2011 in Scottsdale, Arizona. He's buried at Riverside Cemetery in Payette, Idaho. On June 23rd, 1954, the 17-year-old kid, fresh out of Payette High School, becomes the 11,150th man in the history of the planet Earth to join the MLB fraternity when he makes his big league debut as a pinch runner in a game versus the White Sox. 22-year Major League career with the Washington Senators, Minnesota Twins, and Kansas City Royals. A career WAR of 60.4, 2,435 games played, 9,883 plate appearances, 1,283 runs scored, 2,086 hits, 290 doubles, 24 triples, 573 home runs, the 12th most in the game's history. 1,184 RBIs, the 42nd most RBIs ever accumulated by a Major League player. 1,559 walks, the 15th most ever free passes. 160 intentional walks, the 41st most ever. 1,699 strikeouts, the 44th most ever. 4,143 total bases, 80th all time. 19 stolen bases, 18 times caught, 0 bunts ever in his career. A 256, 376, 509 slash line, an 884 OPS, and a 143 OPS plus. 13-time American League All-Star. 1969 American League MVP, 1970 Sporting News MVP, 1971 Lou Gehrig Memorial Award winner. In 1984, the Baseball Writers of America penciled Harmon's name on 335 of 403 ballots for an 83.1% total to earn his rightful inclusion into the National Baseball Hall of Fame in his 4th year of eligibility. In 2001, the Minnesota franchise inducted Harmon Killebrew into the Twins Hall of Fame and retired his iconic number 3 for posterity. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, seamheads of all ages, this has been the story of the killer, Harmon Killebrew. I want to thank all of you freaks for lending me your ears this week, joining me in the Temple of the Seams for this week's presentation on the iconic Harmon Killebrew. Please remember to pound that subscribe or follow link. Share this pod with all your Seamhead buddies. Leave a comment or review on my performance as you see fit. I ain't scared. Look, I do what I do when I do it. No one does it better. And I say that in all humility. I'm surgical with this shit, baby. As Gunner passes racing up the tracks to get you back to Turpin Station, I can see the Harmon Killebrew bio getting smaller and smaller in the rearview mirror. So with that, I turn my attention to I never say die baseball hydra. I reach under my kimono, grab my trusty katana sword, and I chop the head off that beast, only to see 2 more baseball topics appear in its place. In our next program, we're going to dig into the baseball path laid down by the simply unanimously given the greatest power hitting catcher who ever lived. We're talking Mike Piazza, guys. And to think that dude was drafted in the 62nd round of the 1988 MLB June Amateur Draft with the 1,390th pick by the Los Angeles Dodgers as a favor to his godfather and team manager Tommy Lasorda. I mean, from the bare depths of the draft pool to the National Baseball Hall of Fame. Sounds like fun. That's some Tom Brady shit. Make sure you tune in for that. But look, that's another story for another pod here at Backwards K-Pod, where we collect ball players and their stories. Parents, if you see your kids sitting on the couch, they got their noses in their phones and pads and mobile devices looking unproductive AF, do yourself a favor that you'll remember fondly as you draw your last breath from your mortal cord. Grab yourself a couple gloves and a ball, then take those fuzzy little nerf herders outside and play a game of catch. Thank you all for coming out. God bless and win the day. We got Mike Piazza on deck. I love you guys and gals. See ya.